Thank you for choosing iPaint Parties for your digital iPaint party. Today you'll be painting Lighthouse at the beach. Supplies that you'll need are a 16 by 20 canvas, a large brush, a medium brush, and a small brush. You'll need a paint palette or a plate. The paint you'll need is dark gray, white, black, light blue, dark blue, khaki, light green, dark green, brown, and your Lighthouse color of choice. You'll also need some paper towels and a cup of water. Thanks again for choosing us, and have fun.
So we're going to start off with the big brush, and we're going to start off with the gray paint. You'll have two wells of gray, they're both the same. So here's what we're going to do. So you're going to kind of find, you don't really have to do this yet, but you're going to kind of find the middle of your painting vertically. And you're just going to go up about an inch or so. I'm going to put a dot there just to kind of give you guys an idea of where I'm looking at. Now this is just the very bottom layer, so don't worry about if you mess this up. You can see there's hills there, so we're not going to worry about that until we get to that point. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a straight line across, straight in quotes, because it doesn't have to be super straight. And it doesn't have to be filled in. This is just a quick guide, okay? So you can do that. Yep, you can just go ahead and do a swipe. It doesn't have to be filled in, just so you can see it. It's just a stopping point.
It's beautiful, I love it.
It is. I think we should stop. Lost in Gray, we could call it, or some other artsy name. Yep, you don't keep doing it. Just one swipe and we're done. We're moving on. Okay.
OCD.
All right, I'm moving on. So, okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to paint all that gray from the top to the bottom, but you want to make sure you want to do your top and sides as well. So the easiest thing to do is your top first, because you won't get paint on you. So you can just paint, you can lean it in, or you can, just paint that top somehow. And then you're just going to paint all the way down to that line. Now your line doesn't have to be a pretty line at the end, because we're going to be making that with the other colors. So we're just going to make sure and try to paint left and right instead of up and down, since it is a sky. I ran out of gray. Please don't eat the paint. Yeah, should be concentrating this part yet. But just remember, we want to try to do this fairly quickly. And the reason we want to do it quick is because we want this to stay wet if we can. And with that really good feeling breeze that comes through every now and then, it's going to dry pretty quick. You want? Go ahead. You think you could take break and start her this part? Because it's not really, it's just drawing a gray square.
Yeah, but I'm going to try to catch up, so that works.
One more thing, as you're painting, I probably should have said this earlier, it's not a big deal, but when you go across, it's best just to go all the way across, all the way back. If you stop in the middle, you get that white line at the end of your brush stroke. So once you get some paint on, at least make sure you go across it and come back, and then just get more paint. Now remember, just start at either the top or the bottom and work your way down or work your way up. That way you make sure you cover it all. And if you try to go back and do it again, after it dries a little bit, the brush will start picking it back up because acrylic doesn't like to stay where you want it to be. So the brush will pick it back up. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to use the medium brush and white paint. And how we're going to do this, now mine's starting to dry a little bit, so I'll show you how to blend it. But first, you know how clouds are puffy, and they kind of have, at the top they're all puffy, but at the bottom they thin out because they go with the sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by it's called stippling, just stabbing it. That's how I'm going to do like just a little, maybe not quite that. Just like an outline. Now you want your two ends to end to kind of the same. And when I get to the end, I'm just going to take it out like that. And now I'm going to get a little more paint. You'll come back into the top of your cloud, put a little bit more in, just work your way down into the gray. And once you get about halfway, you just start going kind of back and forth. Like that. Hold on a sec, I'm not quite done yet. Now I'm going to go back, you're just going to kind of just swirl the brush around in circles. Now you know how my cloud was dry at the bottom, so it doesn't really blend too well. So all I'm going to do is just, you don't have to clean your brush, just dip a little bit of gray in it. You want to go right underneath of it, go over and then come back. Then you spread it out a little bit. Then you just kind of keep doing that. You can even put some little flat ones over here. Because not all clouds are puffy. There's some just little flat ones in there too. And then once you do one cloud, go ahead and rinse your brush out because you'll have gray in it, and you probably don't want the gray to start another cloud. You can do as many as you want. Yeah, if you want it all overcast and really gloomy, that's great. But yeah, you can either try to match that, but the only thing I would recommend is that you have at least one cloud, at least one or two that go off the side or go off the top. If not, it feels like everything's just floating and it's not grounded to the scene. So just at least have one coming in from the side or going off the top. That's usually what I do next is I'll put one over here that comes in. That's copyrighted, I can't say that.
For you, not for us. We're not the business.
Okay, I can go along with that. I'll come around here in a second. As soon as I get mine in here real quick, I'll... Okay, we're going to use a medium brush. We're going to use the khaki paint. You should have about 1.5 wells of that, or 2, 1.25 or something. But that's what we're going to use now. So what we're going to do first is, just to get started, you're going to kind of find about the halfway point in your canvas going over. Then you're going to add a couple more inches. So I'm going to put a dot, so that's where I'm going to start. Okay? What's that? Tan. Mm-hmm. Khaki, yeah, tan. For the layman, tan. Actually, tan is a different one, but that's okay. So what we're going to do is, if everybody wants to look up real quick, you're going to go out on about a 45-degree angle this way, about that far, okay? This is a tan. You're going to come back this way, do a little curve like that. It's going to curve down just a little bit. all right? Then you're going to come way over. Then you're going to curve and then kind of aim for almost all the way down to almost to the corner down there. So you're going to kind of get a draw on the beach. There's really no wrong way to do this. If yours is different, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal, but it'll just make it harder to teach you later. No, I'm kidding. So just start. We're going to be messing that up anyway, so don't worry about that line being nice and where you can see it and everything. It's just a quick sketch. We're going to use the big brush now. And if you guys see that you have a top of your easel right here, you have that little lip. You can set your painting up on that, like that. That way you can paint down to the bottom and it's a little easier. But as you paint, if you put that up there, you hold your painting while you're painting because it will rock your boat a little bit, so to speak. Slide hers to the right. Slide her painting to the right. It's not leaving. Slide the painting to the right. You're right. Okay, so all we're going to do. So all we're going to do now is just fill. We're going to. Well, actually, before we do that, never mind. Get that little brush in. Or medium. We're going to put our sand dunes in. We better do that first before we fill it in. So you're going to start over here. And you're just going to go up a little bit and do a little dune there and come back down. Then you're going to leave a little dip there. Then as you come over here, you'll just kind of start going up to the edge like that. That just gives the lighthouse a place to sit. So a wee little hump on the left, and you'll curve down for a little valley, and then on the left side you'll kind of curve up to the top. Not top, sorry. Towards the side. Okay. So now all you're going to do is you're going to use the big brush, and you're just going to fill all this part in. Now, just remember, if I came around and we pulled that in, don't fill in the part that we did first. You just want to fill in the part there, because, you know. Big brush. It's just quicker. Is the only reason we're using the big one. And don't forget to do the sides and the bottom as well. Try to do this part as quick as you can, just because we would like it to stay wet if possible. Don't worry about the right edge, making it really nice and clean and pretty, because we're going to be messing it all up. Where the water is, we'll meet it.
And we paint the edge also, the folded side.
I'm sorry?
The side.
Yes, sorry. Yep. And the bottom as well, if you can. Paint your bottom. That wasn't an order, though. That's just for fun. If that's the kind of stuff you like to do.
Secret there, not fun. You must tell everyone.
Are you out?
Well, listen, last time I ran out, that's why I'm asking.
No, it's okay if you run out, but I mean, don't.
Is that too much is what I'm asking?
Okay, we're going to use the medium brush again, and we're going to use the brown. Okay?
Taking it, we're not using
The what?
not using a lot of brown.
No, not a lot of brown. So what we're going to do first is, everybody ready? Look it up? Painful as it is, you got to look at me. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to, on the top of this dune right here on the left side, I'm just going to put a line down like that. Then I'm just going to come back and follow it, and I'm going to go back up, and I'm just going to keep working down into the brown till it kind of disappears and doesn't blend anymore. And I'm going to add a little bit more because I want that to go a little bit deeper than that. Basically, I'm just putting like a little shadow on the hill there. That's it. Just one little line of brown, and then you just kind of go back and forth and work it down in. Once you start going down, though, don't go back up because you're going to take your tan up into there and you'll have to do it again. Okay, does that make sense? Now, as you guys can see, the bush up here, I have more room up here than I do down here, so mine's not going to be quite that big. It's going to hang off a little bit. But what I want to do is, I'm just going to put a line almost where this curve starts going back in. I'm just going to put a brown line there, okay? And after I do that, I'm just going to do the same thing I did up there. Make sure you do the side as well. And I'm just going to start, and I'm just going to work down. Now this one, you just want to keep going down until you run out. You can get a little longer with it. It'll kind of blend in and make it look like dirt and sand. Don't worry about how it blends, because it'll all work itself out. I'm going to add just a little bit of brown in there. And that's why I tell you not to go back over it, because then it messes it all up. It's just supposed to be a little bit of a kind of a shadow there. This up here is actually a little too dark for my taste. That's why I'm kind of making it a little bit lighter. Still can't get that brown. I want to get a bit of brown in there. Alrighty, we're going to get started, or continue, I guess. Okay, so we're going to use the medium brush and white paint. Okay, we're going to work on just getting the basic form of the Lighthouse, not the White House. Okay. So how we're going to do this is, down in here where you kind of have your dip, where it dips down, wherever that is, you want to go about halfway. So I'm going to just do that. I'm going to go about halfway right here. That's where the top of my lighthouse is going to be. This one is squeezed a little bit, so I'm trying to lengthen it out a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is, and I got to move to the front, sorry, so I make it straight. I'm just going to put 2 dots at the top like that, and that's to signify where this bottom part of the lighthouse, the top of it, not the peak up here. So I'm putting 2 dots there.
So what does that mark, the middle of it, the top?
This is the top of the lighthouse. Yeah, see, this part got shrunk. It should go up just a little bit more. Yeah, this is actually one of the second ones I did, because we accidentally sold the original. So, yep, find about the middle, wherever the middle of your dune is there, then that's going to split. You're going to split it. Or you can just guess. It doesn't have to be anything exact by any means. Okay, everybody ready? Everybody got it? So the easiest thing to do is maybe grab your little brush. You can kind of get a straight line right beside it, going down. They're going to come down, a few inches into your sand. And when you do that, you're going to put your dot on the outside of that, maybe like an inch, because it's going to be wider at the base. Same thing over here on the outside. No, maybe not that much though. And I'm going to go further down. I'm just going to go ahead and do my bottom part. So that's about what mine's going to be. I ended up going down a little further there. Mainly because where my inlet comes in is a little further too. Yeah, draw a smiley face for the bottom when you connect those two dots at the bottom. And then you're going to connect the dots from here down to there, and the same thing on this side. I'll have to look at this again because I'm looking at it from the side again. That's good enough. Then you can connect the top.
Fill it all in white?
Fill it all in white, yep. Not with blue. Looks like a blue running into my white here. Dang it, Beavis.
That makes much more sense. I'm like, how am I going to stripe that? I'm going to have to go white and black.
We'll show you that later. It'll be a little easier than you think. Hopefully.
Try not to use as much paper this time.
Yeah, you don't need to plaster the paint on this one. If you did, then you know, it's okay. It has time to dry. It'll have time to dry because we're gonna do the water next. If you got some white outside like I did here with my first dot and stuff, just let it dry and you can just slap a little khaki over top of it or tan. Okay, so like I said, we're going to use the big brush. We're going to use dark paint first. And what I'm going to do is, first thing I'm going to do is about where this comes back out, I'm going to draw a diagonal line down like that. Okay. Don't do that yet. I'm going to fill all this in blue, dark blue. So try to do this quick. The main reason I want to do this quick is because I really don't want this to dry. That's why I'm going to show you guys all of it first, so you kind of know why we need it to be done quick. Don't worry about the sides yet. You can do that after you do this part. So I plopped that in there. It took me about 30 seconds. That's all it should really take. Clean that brush out real quick. And you're going to get the light blue. Now the light blue, I'm going to do the same thing I did there, except I'm going to start it right where this one comes in. And you can adjust that if you're a little close and you need a little more room. You can play with where that is. So I'm going to diagonal this one. This one's going to diagonal all the way to the bottom. Hey guys, can you just listen for 1 sec, okay? Sorry to get all teacher on you, but. So then you're going to fill this part in real quick. You can go up to this line. You don't have to mix it yet, because we're going to do that in a second. But just get some paint down through there. If it does mix in, it's not a big deal because we're getting ready to do that anyway. Okay. So now I've got paint on. Okay, so I'm going to throw that in the water. I'm just going to get the medium brush now. But now all I'm going to do is where these two meet, first I'm going to maybe try to get a little bit of an edge right there. I'm going to go into the dark blue, back into the light blue. Okay, very lightly. You don't have to push really hard. But the trick is you want to stay horizontal because the water flows that way. It doesn't go up. So I'm just going to go over, come back. I'm just going to start going in between them. First thing you're going to do is go right down the middle, right on that line to mix that. And once you get up here, you're going to stop and you can just pull a little in. Now once you have that, you see it's starting to mix. So now you can come back into this part. Then you go a little further on a couple, go a little shorter. Some go off the page. Maybe do a couple up here. If you guys are comfortable, you can start. But like I said, the trick is to try to get that paint on there as quick as you can so that you can blend it like that. And since I've done that, I can kind of walk around and help anybody if they need it. We're going to basically do the same thing, except we're not going to put as much dark blue. So I'm going to start dark blue right along there. It doesn't matter if it touches or not, because we're going to go along that with some white here in a little bit. So it doesn't have to touch that blue, but if it does, it's not going to hurt it. So you're going to do a little bit of blue, only like maybe a 2-inch line. About like that. All the way down. Somewhere close to the tan. You can go into the tan, because what we're going to do is we're going to come back with tan and make a nice line there at the end. So you're going to do about that much blue. Let me put a little bit more there, just to blend. Again, wash this down real quick. This one will be a little trickier because what we're going to do is we're going to fill this in with blue. And again, this is one of those ones where we needed to stay wet because of what we're going to do after this. First, you'll do this like we just did. You're going to come back in, and first one you want to do is just go right down the middle to get them kind of blending a little bit. Then you're just going to make sure you're horizontal and really drag that blue. If you can pick it up, if you need to, which I'm going to need to, just get a little blue on your brush. Or a lot of blue, apparently. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and show you this next step real quick. So after you do that, you're going to clean that medium brush. And now what you're going to do is you're going to dip in your tan. And you're going to start in the tan, okay, and work into that blue, just very lightly. Just so it kind of does the same thing. It kind of gives you that little. Now don't go below that though, because this part is kind of where the sand dune comes up and you can't see. But back here is where the water's just kind of rushing up to meet the sand. And I'm very lightly doing this. I'm not pressing hard. That way it looks like it's just kind of disappearing into the beach.
Yeah, black.
Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to use a little brush, okay? And I'm going to put a dot at the top left corner, okay? So that's where the first stripe's going to be. So I'm going to come down maybe about 1 inch or 1.5 inches, and I'm going to put another dot, okay? Basically, the whole way down, that's what I'm going to do, and try to space them about the same. And then if you don't have room to put another one, you don't put another one on that side. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And about the same height if you can. So they should be right across from each other, give or take. So what that's going to allow us to do is, you guys doing that? Or hold on 1 sec. I'll just show you this part real quick. So the top one on the right is going to go down to the second one on the left, okay? You don't want it to be a straight line. You put just a little bit of a curve to it. And then this one will be the one you fill in. So you're going to do the same thing here. It's always the one above it. So we're just going to kind of work. And then this one, there's nothing there, so it's just going to kind of curve down to the bottom there. Okay? So after you get those lines, you just fill them in. Just make sure you're. Now I use the medium brush to fill them in because that little one will take half the day. Plus, I hate it. Once you fill the first one in, then it's a little easier to see which one you're on. Ooh, it's raining now. Anybody got their car windows down or windows down? Or maybe that was just wind, but there's no leaves. Oh no, it's raining. I mean, like, you can use a little brush if you want. I don't want to make it like you can't, but to fill it in, it's up to you. Still using the collar of your lighthouse. We'll use a little brush. The little brush and the collar of your lighthouse. So what we're going to do is, on each side you're going to put a little 45-degree angle going out. So what you're going to end up with is something like that. Okay, like a little, what's the math? Not a parallelogram, but I don't know. But anyway, you're going to angle out on each side and then a line over top and it'll flatten out. So go ahead and do that real quick and then we're going to move to the next one.
Same color as your shirt.
Yeah, this is all the same as your lighthouse stripe. So now what we're going to do is we're going all the way out to the side at the top of those, what we just put on. And all you're doing is putting a little rectangle on it, all the way across, like that. And then, after you do that, we're going to put like the railings. So what you want to do is you want to go right in the middle first. So you'll put a line in the middle. And then you'll half each side again. Then you'll half them again, and that is a little easier way to do railings to where they're spaced out good. Okay? A little trick since your sky's probably dry, while you're doing this, you can lay your pinky on your canvas to steady your hand, and move up your hand as far up to the brass at the end of the brush as you can. The closer you are, the more control you have. So the next thing we're going to do is you're going to put a little square right on top. Try to half it. However many railings you have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. So I'm going to mark my middle one, which is the 5th. And I'm going to come out about to the middle of these two. And all you want to do is put a rectangle there, or a square, like that. So you'll have that square. And after you do that, you're just going to go ahead and take it all the way down. And then you fill all that in. So you'll end up having that. Basically a big rectangle sitting on top. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put another rectangle on top. Okay? We're going to put another rectangle on top, but it's not going to be as wide. So I'm going to come in, and it's not going to be as tall either. So it's just a little bit smaller. A little hard to see with that dark gray sky. Let's see if I can get a little bit more on there. And then you're going to do the same thing you did with the railing below. You're going to split it. This one you want to try to make them as little as you can because you want to put a lot on there. So you'll end up with that. So next, all we're going to do is, again, this doesn't go all the way. You're just basically adding one more line, but don't go all the way to the edge. Maybe go in one of your railings on each side. You're just adding a line like that, just to make that a little bit thicker, a little bit of a base for the next part. It should almost be the width of your that column that's underneath of it that runs all the way down, about that same width. Should be good. So after that, you're not going to make the rectangle, but you can pretend you are. Out of that one, you're going to do another line just like that above it. But it's going to stick out just a little bit beyond. It's kind of like the roof of the little bell tower. Okay, next you're just going to, underneath of it, you're just going to connect those lines like that. And you're going to just divide it into quarters and just put 2 more lines in the middle. Okay, so the last part, you're going to find the middle of that line, the top line, go up as high as you want. I'm going to put a dot where I think the middle is. That line, you're just going to connect down to there, and the other side, to that last railing, and then you can just fill that in. Basically putting a dunce cap on top of your lighthouse. Once you do that, if your stripes color's not really, like mine's a little weak, I'm going to go back and just put a quick second coat over top of that, so it's a little more solid. Bless you. Real quick, we're going to use the medium brush. Everybody's going to you're going to get just a little bit of brown, and on your palette, you're going to do this. Just go like that, put a little bit of brown on your palette, up there, because we want that to dry for in a second. Should dry pretty quick. The reason we're doing that is we're kind of use it as like a little watercolor. We're going to dip our brushes in a little bit of water for a shadow. Okay? So everybody did that, right? Put a little brown, you don't want it thick because we want it to dry quick. So I'm going to go down and barely touch the water with my brush. Barely. Don't do it yet. I like people who are listening. So then I'm going to get a little bit of that, just get a little water on that brown. I don't want it to run though, so you don't want a whole lot. Basically, I'm just going to go right underneath here. Since it's just a watercolor, it's just going to add a little shadow over top of that. Might just darken this part up here at the beginning. So what we're going to do is, we're going to use the medium brush, white paint. First thing we're going to do is this wave. So, there's a lot of foam on top of the waves, right, hopefully, to make them look cool. So I'm going to get a lot of paint on my brush, and I'm just going to kind of just jab it. As I'm going down, I'm just kind of turning my brush so it doesn't make a pattern. Get some more paint on. Actually up here you want to go a little above it. Then you can kind of fizzle it out at the bottom a little bit. So after you do that, we want to show that this wave is kind of curling up, right? So we don't want a whole lot of paint on our brush because we have some on there already. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm just going to curl my hand so that it goes like that. And I'm just going to do that at different lengths throughout the thing. I'm barely touching the paint, barely touching the canvas too. I'm not pushing hard. Just kind of letting the brush fall over it. What that'll do, it'll just show a little bit of movement there. Then I'm going to put a few in here. have it come into the shore. See, this is all still the same amount of paint I had on, so you don't need to add a lot. Okay. Then I'm going to kind of do the same thing out in the ocean, except I'm just getting a wee little bit, and I'm just going to add a few little, very lightly, just some lines out there. You could add as few or as many as you like. We're going to use the medium brush now and the light green, okay? So this grass is fairly easy as long as you don't take it too seriously. If you take it too seriously, then you'll get bogged down in details. You don't want to do that. So if you get some green paint on your brush, you may have to mix it up a little bit. It's starting to dry a little bit. So you get some green. And you're going to always start at the bottom where it meets the ground. And you're going to go up. As you go up, you just want to curve a little bit either way and just lift off, okay? So you just want to do that and lift off. You're going to do a bunch of those, crisscrossing, the medium. So you're going to get a bunch of those on there, however much you want. It's going to look like there's nothing there at first, but that's because it's underneath. And then you're going to use the dark green. You don't even have to clean your brush. You're going to do the same thing, but this one you want to be a little bit more careful in where you go because these will show up a lot more. But you still want to lift off, start at the bottom and lift off. If you stop, you're going to have a glob of paint at the end. And while you might want that glob of paint, you might not either. So you can do these different heights and crisscross them a little bit. Don't forget to put a couple around the side. Everybody, this is just an option if you guys want to add a little bit of white to where the water and the sand meet. You barely want to get any on your brush. And you're just going to kind of go back and forth very lightly. Actually, this is one of those ones where if you dip your brush barely in the water, barely touch it. What that'll do is it'll help the bottom paint pick up. If you're not real comfortable doing it, I wouldn't do it because I'm kind of wishing I didn't already. But probably should have done that when it was still wet. Just take it out into it. But if you keep going over it, it doesn't do too bad. First, we're just going to put a couple little highlights on the top of the lighthouse just to kind of make it stand out. So like, oh, I'm sorry, this little brush and white paint. So on the top part of that triangle on the right side, I'm just going to put a little line like that. And then pretty much, then I'm going to put one on that little base underneath of it, starting from the right, going to the left. That's pretty much what I'm going to do all the way down on the sides. You don't want them to touch the sides. They just be right in the middle. And then don't put it down on the stripe side. That just helps that lighthouse stand out a little bit more. Well, you don't put it all the way on the line though, and just inside. Yeah, you don't want it to be on the outside line. What you're gonna do is just gonna get your little brush. We're gonna use a little brush and the brown paint. You don't want to put a whole lot of them, but all you're doing is really just picking a spot, putting like a little brown line. The black's for something else. And then you don't even need to clean your brush. You can get a little white and just put like a little dot on them. That'll help them stand out a little bit. So you get a little bit of water on your brush. Then on your black, you're just gonna run the brush over it. Remember, you don't want your brush super wet. Then on the left side, you don't have to do this part, by the way. This is all up to you guys. Then on the left side, we're going to start right where the top of that is. I'm just going to go down the side. It's just going to add a nice little shadow on the left side.